There we go. Okay, we will get started now. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kruto Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam Paramanandamadhavam. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drak Tadrishyam Druktumanasam Drishyadhi Vrittaya Sakshi Drige Vanatu Drishyate. Our topic of discussion is Samadhi and how different types of Samadhis are to be conducted. So the author has been explaining for us what they are. I will again share the screen, which summarizes the idea of how this Samadhi works. And if you have the text, then there even Guruji has in the commentary shown the 6 types of Samadhi. So I don't know what page it is, but for me it is page 120. So there are 6 types of Samadhi, 3 internal, 3 external, Hridi and Bahi. Internal and external are solely from the perspective of the object of contemplation. What do we start off with? At the end result, everything is the same. The goal of the Samadhi towards the end is the same. There is not different result that will come out, because if it comes out with a different result, then we have different types of Samadhis. That would mean that there is a gradation of liberation. There is no gradation of liberation. So the idea basically is that when we speak of antaha and bahi, it is from the perspective of what do you begin with? And that is why they are labeled this way. Nirvikalpa at both level are nirvikalpa only. Nirvikalpa means without any change, without any modification. So both are essentially the same, but how did you start off with? That's what differed. Okay. So when we say internal samadhi, there are of two types, savikalpa, nirvikalpa. Savikalpa again is of two types, Drishyaanuvid, Shabdanuvid. And same thing happens at the Bahihi. Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa, Drishyaanuvid, Shabdanuvid. When we saw Drishyaanuvid, Antas Savikalpa Samadhi, there the understanding was that what is Drshya there is our thoughts. A person who is sitting for the practice of samadhi is able to visualize the thoughts in their mind. And these thoughts are desires, anger, greed, whatever other thoughts that come to mind for us. So all those thoughts are seen. And when they are seen, we are told, the scriptures are only telling us. The scripture tells us that you do not focus on the drishya, but focus on the awareness of the drishya or of the scene. So how do you focus on the awareness? Is when this thought comes to mind of a desire, at that point, instead of figuring out what that nature of thought was, instead of worrying about where did this thought come from, what was the cause of this thought, more focus on the light or the awareness that this thought was playing on. What was the background upon which this thought is able to sustain itself? And any thought you take, that thought has to have some kind of light, some kind of presence. And that presence or that awareness, we focus our eyes on. Not eyes, but we focus our attention on. And that is what we call here as Sakshi. So the scripture gives us this word, Sakshi, and we focus our attention on this Sakshi. This is Drishyaanuvid, Savikalpa Samadhi. Shabdaanuvid is where you take the words from the scripture and you apply those words alone during the process of samadhi. During the contemplation, a desire comes to mind. You say, put the desire away. I am not worried about the desire right now. What I am focused on is the words that the scriptures gave me. And what were those words? Asangas Satchidanandaha Swaprabhaha Dvaita Varjitaha. So like that, I focus on these words alone, or any other words. Nisangaha, Nirvikalpaha, those words that relate to the Atma. So scriptures told us, what does Asangaha mean? One who is completely detached. I am this Atma, which is completely detached from all the equipment, body, mind, intellect. I am also detached from my house, my belongings, my possessions. This is how we practice in this state of samadhi, where the focus is only on the word asanga, and when I say asanga, I am left with me, the Atma, and whatever it is that the jiva was attached to gets separated. Similarly, if I say Satchidananda, then again I'm focusing on the existence, consciousness, bliss nature of the self and separating it from everything that is not that. So, how does Tattva Board define Sat Chidananda? That is what we look at. Sat is Kalatrayepi Tishtati. So, I am this Atma that is existing in all three states of time. This is how my focus goes, is I am there in all three states of time. How does Chit work? Chit is, what is the definition of Chit? Chaitanya Swarupaha, of the nature of consciousness. So, so I am that which is aware and that which is able to light myself. So that is how the focus stays on the vibrance, the focus stays on the ability to shine. So therefore, my thought remains with how the scriptures have defined for me what does Satchidananda mean. Ananda, again, Ananda Swarupaha. So in this way, I focus my attention as per the Shastra's knowledge that I have gained. This is the Drishyanuvid. And Nirvikalpa Samadhi, both lead to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. If one continues to practice Shabdanuvid or Drishyanuvid, both leads to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but it only leads when there is Swanubhuti, when there is a personal experience of I am this Atman. I am this Satchidananda Swarupa. Before, it was the knowledge given to me by the scriptures to practice, if it was under Drishyanuvid, or it was the knowledge that the scripture told me and I was practicing in Drishyanuvid. So you could say, like how our Gurudev says, that it is that pole. So it is a pole given to me by the scriptures, and I'm using that pole efficiently. But till I cross over that bar on top, I have only mentally practiced how I need to get up there. I have not really gone up there. And I've never let go of the pole also. I've only practiced at a very lower standard. I take the pole and I jump off at certain point in time. Where I feel I will not get hurt is where I let go. But I've never gone to that height and I've let go. So when the Swanubhuti happens, that I am this existence, consciousness, bliss, and in that Swanubhuti, there is rasa, there is joy, there is a sense of immersion. You're completely engrossed in it. At that time, Shabda and Drishya, Upeksha, they are dropped. Whatever our desire was there in the mind, all of that desire gets dropped. We don't have those desires, we don't have those thoughts come into mind that I was desirous of this item or I wanted this object, because only focus remained was on me, the consciousness. And even the Shabda gets dropped. The Shabda that the scripture gave us, Asangaha, Satchidanandaha, Dvaita Varjita, or even that gets dropped. How does it get dropped? Is because the practice of Savikalpa Samadhi created a habit within us. It created a tendency for liking of the self. And this tendency removed the wrong or a contrary tendency which we had cultivated, that I am Jiva. This is what was presented previously as Brantijam. This is that Brantijam Sambandha. So this Brantijam Sambandha gets destroyed. And therefore, the Shabda and Drshya are negated. So I have created a habit for I am the self. And in that habit, the mind is so engrossed that it doesn't see the desires, it doesn't see even the words of the scriptures. All the mind sees is the full nature of the self, the complete, absolute nature of the self. And it becomes completely still. How is it still? So it says, Nivata Sthita Deepavat, like how a flame is there, but that flame doesn't move because the wind is not there to move. And what is the wind? The wind is all our desires, all the turbulations of the mind, all of that has stopped. And therefore, only thing that is seen or that is felt is the vibrance, the light of the self. And that's my experience, that I am this light, I am this this existence, consciousness, bliss, without the voice that is telling that I am this. Right now, in Savikalpa Samadhi, there is a voice that is telling, I am Atma, of the nature of Satchidananda. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no voice. There is nobody to say, I am this. So it is just existence, consciousness, bliss. Then we saw also the topic of Bahya Savikalpa Samadhi. And Bahya Savikalpa Samadhi was Drishanuvidda. Bahya Savikalpa Samadhi is where Yasmin Kasminscha Vastuni, whatever objects that come to mind. Now, the idea here is that Bahya is in reference to the objects of the world external. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to see those objects. The fact is that it is external when I say that they are not me, the Jiva. Doesn't matter where I experience it. It doesn't matter. As long as in my mind there is a thought that this object was separate from me, that is Bahya. Okay. So if I have a thought of Friday night movie tickets, now the theaters have opened, so people are interested in going to movies. So if the thought is of the movie tickets, that's not me. That's not me, the Jiva. But it is Bahya, it is external. So in that external object, the thought comes, Yasmin Kasminscha Vastuni, what you do is you separate the Nama Rupa, separate the name and form, and focus on Sat, focus on the existence aspect, focus on the consciousness aspect. And for this, I don't require anything else. I don't require the help of Shastra. I can do it because I know what is an experience of the external object, and I know how to separate the name and form from it. So, whatever object comes to mind, you separate the nama rupa from asti bhati priyam. And when I separate the nama rupa from asti bhati priyam, I say that nama rupa is the jagat and jagat is asat. But asti bhati priyam is Brahman. This is the nature of Brahman. So, in my focus, the self, the reality, not the self, the reality is that existence, consciousness, bliss. That is my focus. So, I'm not focused on the Atman now, I'm focused on Brahman now. This is why it is Bahya. Although I'm doing it internally, although the practice is where I'm sitting in the altar in front of me, but my object of thought is external object. And with that external object, I am focusing on Brahman. This is Drshyanuviddha Bahya Savikalpa Samadhi. So then, today we will go to
Dhirenji, how do they define Anuviddha?
Anuviddha means to follow. Follow.
Follow.
Yes. So when it says Drshya, so following the Drshya, you carry your attention towards Brahman. If it is Bahya Drshya Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. So let us look at the new shloka for today, which is shloka number 28. Akhandaikarasam vastu Satchidanandalakshanam Ityavichhinna chinteyam Samadhir madhyamo bhavet. Akhandaikarasam vastu Satchidanandalakshanam Ityavachinna chinteyam Samadhir madhyamo bhavet. So here now the scriptures are telling us how to meditate on Brahman. So what is the scripture defining Brahman as? Akhanda. The nature of Brahman is Akhanda. So what should come to mind is Brahman is of the nature of completely one homogeneous, one complete existence. There is nothing there in this world other than Brahman alone. So I'm not looking at any object. Here I'm not focused on any object. I'm focused on the thought of the scripture that everything in this creation is Akhanda. So everything in the creation is Akhanda means that whenever I think of the word Akhanda, I am only focused on Satchidananda and never on the Nama and Rupa. The Nama Rupa doesn't arise to me. And even if it arises, I say Akhanda is the nature of Brahman. I remind myself of this thought. Ekarasam vastu. Ekarasam. Ekarasam means of one essence. It doesn't change from different object to different object. So again, the scriptures will tell us how that Brahman is ekarasa. If it is in the if it is in nimbu pani, it is also one rasa, and if it is in chai, it is also one rasa. If it is in karela juice, it is also one rasa. The point is that its essence never changes. It is the same, but what changed is the essence of the water, the essence of what was mixed in the water. So Brahman is that which is completely same in all things. That means it is all pervasive. When we say akhanda, we are saying it is, there is no break. So there is break in space. So when akhanda is said, there is no break in space. It is ever there. All uh, I guess it is, you could say it is all pervasive because it's never broken up by space. So akhanda is that. Ekarasam means that even though it is all pervasive, there is no measure of it where it is more at certain place and less at certain place. Even it is full, but it is same in all objects. So that is how the ekarasam is to be understood. So ekarasam means the Brahman or the nature of Brahman is not divisible by the object, because object seems to us of different nature, of different essence. So when I understand Brahman, it is of ekarasam, it is vastu, it is the reality. And Satchidananda Lakshanam, it is of the nature of, or it is known as Satchit Ananda. So Brahman is known as this. Atman was in the Drshyanuvidya. Here the focus is on, in the Hridi. This is Bahi. So Brahman is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. Iti, in this way, avachinna chinta, the contemplation which is unbroken. You are in the state where there is a continuous repeated thought of Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss. 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 There is a repeated thought in the mind of this nature. And as it is repeated, when I was speaking, it may have seemed like this is so boring. I have to repeat this thought in my mind like that. No. When you are repeating, you should have some form of joy that should come out of it. You should have a feeling of happiness as you are repeating this thought. So if that feeling doesn't come of joy, if the feeling doesn't come of happiness from it, then we are lacking some understanding of it. We have not fully become convinced of what it is. See, what happens if you look at life of Hanumanji? If Hanumanji chants the name of Shri Ram, he says Ram, 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 Ram. To the most wretched person, to say Ram, Ram, Ram feels like a very daunting task. But for Hanumanji, to say the name of Ram, it creates a lot of joy, lot of feeling. Because what is connected with Ram? With Ram is connected devotion. With Ram is connected the individuality, that I am nothing without that Ram. So therefore, in such a repetition, there is no mundaneness. there is nothing but joy that comes out from us. So, therefore, repetition, when it is becoming mundane for us, when that thought becomes that akhanda, Satchidananda, Ekarasa, if I am getting nothing but blank stares, that means that I have not understood what the essence really means. So therefore, then I have to go contemplate, why is this akhanda, ekarasa? So in this way, a repeated thought has to happen, and that repeated thought is avachinna, without any break, without any pause. When one does that, this is the samadhi madhyamaha bhavet. Madhyamaha, of the middle kind, or the second. So the first one was said as adyaha. Adyaha, first one. Madhyamaha is the second one. So second one means Drishyanovidda Savikalpa Samadhi. So Drishyanovidda Savikalpa Samadhi. Now here you will see that there is an effort required. We're not doing this without an effort. There is an effort required here to hold the thought of aham, not aham, of Brahman is Satchidananda. There's a continuous effort required of Brahman is Satchidananda. Now, finally, what happens when that thought becomes effortless? Whether it is Drshyanuvid or Shabdanuvid, Bahya Savikalpa Samadhi, when it becomes effortless, that you do not require any longer to continue holding the thought that what I am seeing, I have to separate Nama Rupa from it and only focus on Asti Bhati Priyam. I do not have to focus on the Jagat, but I only have to focus on Satchidananda. When that has been dropped and has become effortless, what happens is being explained next. So we'll see. Stabdhi bhavo rasa swadat tritiya purvavanmatah etais samadhibhih षड्भिः नयेत् कालं निरन्तरम्. स्तब्धी भावो रसास्वादात् तृतीय पूर्ववन्मतः एतैः समाधिभिः षड्भिः नयेत् कालं निरन्तरम्. Stabdhi bhavaha. A very beautiful explanation of what is the experience of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now, when we say experience, we should not think that there's an actual experience, but this is a way to voice the experience. So we should not feel that, okay, when I'm sitting in meditation, I'm looking for stabdhi bhavaha, astonishment. I should not be looking for anything. The practice of meditation is where we should have no search for anything except being immersed in the thought of either aham brahmasmi or only in the thought of aham brahmasmi. That Brahman alone I am. So what is that experience? That experience is stabdhi bhavaha. One is completely astonished. One is completely surprised. It is as though that the world has been taken under my feet. The world has been swept under from me. It is like that, where the feeling will be that I do not recognize the body, the mind, the intellect. I do not recognize the world. There is no world. It is just me alone. But when this me alone is, this me is not separate from the Jagat. The me and Jagat are the same. There is no Jagat, there is no me. There is only Sat Chit Ananda. The difference of Jagat and me was created because of the mind. But here in this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that mind has completely immersed. So, because that mind is completely immersed, the distinction of Bahya and Antaha has been removed. So, therefore, no Jagat exists and also no Jiva exists. Stabdhi Bhava. Again, the word uses Rasaswadat. The person is deriving a great amount of joy from this experience. Why? Because it is the joy of the self. It is my nature. So, because it is the nature of the self, the joy is natural. But it is not the object type of joy. It is not a joy that you would have when you would drink a lemonade or you would drink a soda. It's not that kind of joy. It's a joy of simply complete quietude of mind. When you have been carrying a lot of weight on your shoulder, and the moment you just drop all that weight and you sit down, and then you feel, when you say that, that's that expression of joy. That's that expression that I have been carrying a load of weight on me, of a jiva, or there is this world. That weight has been put off. And because the weight has been put off, I am only immersed in my thought as I am the self. Stabdhi bhavaha rasaswada. Tritiyaha purvavat mataha. Like it was explained in the previous, which is the antaha nirvikalpa samadhi. Like that, it is the bahya nirvikalpa samadhi also. So even in antaha, the distinction of me, the jiva, dropped, and because the me, the jiva, dropped, I became atma, but that atma also forgot that there is a jagat. So how that happened is, we went internally through me, the jiva, we started to dismantle the jivahood and came to the understanding of I am the atma. And when I came to the understanding of I am the atma, the world also was removed. Here we started from the world and cut down on the names and forms of the world and came to the world is nothing but Satchidananda. And when I came to that understanding, the world is Satchidananda, I came to also the understanding Atma is also Satchidananda. It automatically happens. So from where you start off may be different. Where you end up is all the same. Etaihi samadhibhihi shadbhihi. Like that, with these shadbhihi, 6 types of samadhi, nayet kalam nirantaram. Nayet, lead. Kalam, time. Lead your time nirantaram, always. So always spend your time in this way. By these 6 types of samadhi. Before we conclude for today, we now only have, I believe, two more shlokas left, and then we will have finished off in the text. So that we can take up next week. But I wanted to share one nice anecdote that I heard or saw of Sri Ramakrishna. When Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, before he took sannyas and before he was, institutionalized as a Swami, when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, so Sri Ramakrishna told him, "What's in news today? Can you read what's in the newspaper?" So, Swami Vivekananda took the book, the newspaper, and he started reading that in this region there is rainfall and it is raining. So then he said, "Oh, okay, okay." Then he said, "Okay, that's good enough. Now, what I want you to do is take the newspaper and ring it, like how you twist it. So like that, take the newspaper, fold it, and ring it." So Swami Vivekananda is like, "What is he talking about? Why does he want me to crumple up the paper?" So he was not sure. But because Swami Sri Ramakrishna asked, so he started doing this. And then he said, "What are you doing? You said there is rain in the paper, but you're not able to wring any rain from your paper." And then he's like, "I don't know what that means." And then Sri Ramakrishna explains, "See, the scriptures are only useful till they give us knowledge. But then if that knowledge doesn't become part of me, then there is no use of that piece of paper." So like that, this piece of paper only gave me knowledge about some rain, but it didn't create any rain for me. Similarly, the knowledge of samadhi has been explained, but it will not give us samadhi. It gave us knowledge of what samadhi really is. But till nayet kalam nirantaram, if I do not spend my time, and that is also nirantara. There is a nice definition of nirantara in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. I think it is the definition of abhyasa, where it says satu dirgha kala nairantaryam satkara asevita dhadabhumihi. So satu dirgha kala, for a long period of time, nairantarya, without any antara, without any disturbance, without creating any other kinds of uh, thought. Satu dirgha kala nairantaryam asevitaha. When you're cherishing, you're worshipping satkara with with devotion, with worship, we are practicing this. Then this becomes fruitful. So we should, pray to Bhagwan that this becomes part of our life. But also we should not be where, we should only spend our whole day doing meditation and nothing else, because we are not full time in that stage yet. I mean, some of you may be, but not everybody is. So you look at where you fall in your stage of life, and if you have the ability, then you focus your full-fledged attention in this thought. But if there are responsibilities of the world, then we have to fulfill those responsibilities as well. So again, there was one thought about Swami Vivekananda, where Swami Vivekananda told he had a rough patch. So Swami Vivekananda told Sri Ramakrishna that, I want to go for 5 days of absolute meditation. And I don't want to be bothered by anything or anybody. And once I'm done with that, I will come back and I will start, doing other work. And Swami Sri Ramakrishna told him, "You are so selfish. You are thinking about your own self liberation when I had expected so much from you to guide the people of this world. How can you think about just that?" So he discouraged Swami Vivekananda from sitting in meditation the whole time. The idea is that the we should make it as part of life till all the responsibilities have been dropped off, and then we make it as full goal of life. But till then, at least if we have it as part of life, then only we can take it to the next step. Okay, if there are any other questions, we can go through those.
Dhirenji, I understand meditation with seeing means witnessing or seeing thoughts, as you said. My question is witnessing or seeing also in the form of a thought, or is thought involved in witnessing?
Is the thought involved in witnessing? When you are witnessing, that is a thought. I am a witness, that is a thought. So if I am a witness of my desires, then I am knowing myself as the Sakshi. So Savikalpa Samadhi is considered as a thought-based samadhi, where you are actually maintaining a thought. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a non-thought-based samadhi.
So as long as you're in a Savikalpa, it is through thought media. So it's a... Okay, thanks.
Yes, Savikalpa is thought-based, and it is a guided thought based on whatever the two distinctions we have talked about.
Thank you.
Ranji?
Yes, Prakash.
Savikalpa Samadhi is usually in duality, right? You're dealing with duality all the time. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, duality is dropped out, correct? Am I saying it right?
Yes, absolutely.
When you do Savikalpa, you have to have duality. Me and God, and me and Brahman are two separate entities. And when you merge into one, that becomes Savikalpa, right?
Yes.
Can you re-enumerate this six meditation, the 6 stages of meditation for me again?
Sure.
Practice these 6 meditations. So can you go over 6 one of them?
Sure. So the 6 types of meditations are, first one is internal Drshya Anuviddha Samadhi. So Drshya means seen thoughts. So seen desires of the mind, of the self, of the ego. So that is number 1. Number 2 is scriptures given word to define Atma.
Okay.
So using those words, I focus on Atma, the inner self. And the third one is internal Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that by practicing these two, my focus has now only been on I am the Atma. I am the Atma. So that is Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
And then goes Savikalpa same.
Then the Bahya is the same, but it is Bahya with external objects. It is not the desires of the mind, it is the external objects. Again, the scriptures will be the second one.
Right.
And the Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the 6th one.
Right.
I have a question, Dhirenji.
Yes, Prakash.
You mentioned Brahman and Atman. When you differentiate, Is there a differentiation when it is Satchidananda, we refers to Brahman as well as Atman, don't we?
There is no difference
Uh,
between Brahman and Atma
uh,
at the level of absolute. So
yeah.
what that means is when uh, in the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no Brahman and there is no Atman. They have all been separated, and it has not separated, they have all been merged into one, and that is Satchidananda. But
That we refer.
the difference is how we approach towards Brahman and how we approach towards Atman with our thoughts.
Thank you.
Dhirenji, Ravi again. I understand meditation with words is when a continuous flow of thought that I am Brahman or I am not the body is maintained. Is when you is there a witnessing of these thoughts, or is it just akanda, continuous flow of thoughts?
If you bring the witness in the thought, then that will be your Drshya with the Hridi.
Okay.
If you do not bring the witness in between, then it is
Shabdanu.
no. Then it will be Drishyanu Bahya, because you probably will be using some external objects to focus your attention on.
So what is the within Shabda? The Shabdanu, the within. That I thought that was maintaining a continuous flow of thoughts.
If it is about the Atma, then it is Shabdanu with the taking the scriptures.
Yeah.
So taking the thought of scriptures and you focus your attention on Atma, then it is Shabdanu with the internal Samadhi.
Okay.
With words, internal.
Okay. So it has to be a thought of Atma or Brahma.
Right. So if the thought is of Atma, it is internal. If the thought is of Brahman, it is external.
Thank you.
Hari Om Dhirenji. I had a question. Where do you place this transcendental meditation that Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi's ashram, they do that?
Same thing.
What does it mean when they talk about transcendental meditation? Where does it lie in the spectrum?
So I'm not familiar with how the Ramana ashram actually does the practice of meditation. Mm-hmm. But from the philosophy that that we know, Ramana Maharshi ji used to talk about, or whenever he used to discuss with anybody, his philosophy was directly going into questioning, who are you? So it would, if anybody would come and ask him a question that I am having a problem, he would say, who are you? Who is it? Who is you that is having a problem? And if the person would say, me this, jiva or whatever. Well, who is this jiva? Where is this jiva? You show me where this jiva is. Like that, he would question and take us to the ultimate nature of the Atma. So my guess would be, again, I don't know how they, teach, but my guess would be that it would be more of internal samadhi, where you focus your attention on Atma. You know who you are as an Atma.
All right. Thank you.
Of subject.
Since nobody's asking a question, let me ask you one. The difference between Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa is, in case of Savikalpa, thought exists, whereas in Nirvikalpa, there is no thought. Am I right?
Yes.
So thought disappears.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thought disappears because the object on which to focus on also disappears. Mind requires an object to focus on. See, if I have an object in front of me, right now I'm able to see you. So what is my object of thought? It is the pictures that I may be seeing, or if I don't look at the pictures, but I look at the laptop screen, so then that becomes my object. Okay. So this is the object that I give to the mind, and the mind focuses on the thought. Okay. If I don't see, if I don't see, I close my eyes, still the objects will be there. But what are those objects? Those objects are experiences of the mind. Correct?
Yes.
I cannot get rid of those experiences. But what is attached with those experiences? The attachment with the experiences that I am the jiva who had these experiences in the past, and these experiences mean these things. So my thought are because of I objectify myself with these experiences of the jiva. When by practicing the samadhi, I separate myself from this, so therefore there remains no object for the mind to focus on. And because there is no object to focus on, it becomes if you're using one thought to focus on, then it becomes savikalpa samadhi. Like the thought of I am Atman, I am Atman. If you're using that as your pole, as your stick to launch yourself, then that becomes your savikalpa samadhi. And if you have already launched yourself, then you have no thought.
Right. Thank you.
I have one question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was looking like a witness. I am druk. Every time I see a situation, I bring it to mind. I am druk. None of those. So if I see everything you explain is a drshya, but I am understood that I am druk, then I don't need to do anything.
Yes. Yes. As long as you maintain your focus on the druk, then you are, if you're maintaining focus, then you are in savikalpa samadhi. If you no longer have to maintain a focus, then you are in nirvikalpa samadhi. And why would you not have to maintain a focus? Because the effort has become so effortless for you to now identify you are a druk.
Correct.
And that shloka is the next shloka to come in Drshya.
Thank you.
So when we talk of the nirvikalpa samadhi, so when we are in deep sleep, we are not experiencing anything, right?
Yes.
It's only the sakshi which is there, experiencing the absence.
Experiencing the absence of
absence.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that state, can we say we are in nirvikalpa samadhi? We have no thoughts, nothing.
No. And the reason why is because I am not aware that I am present.
We realize that after we get up, right? Because we had that blissful sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
It is when in this state, I am aware that I am there, and at the same time as I am aware, I experience nothing.
There is a story which goes with Madhvacharya, where he got into the Vrindavan, the Tulsi, that what do you call, in Kannada we say Vrindavan, where we have the Tulsi plant which is put there. So he got into the Vrindavan in Mantralaya, and they say that he went into Samadhi. So I think that's when he experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and he was just gone there. He just merged with Brahman. Or
yes, so
right?
so that is a very good example, is where the object of the world drove the attention towards the Brahman, and the person forgot about all the things.
Yeah. And he was the person who came out with the duality, right?
Yeah.
So, but he merged with Brahman. So Atman and Brahman became one for him at that point.
Correct.
But he was the proponent of dualism.
Correct. And that's the thing, is that although he was speaking about the duality, he was not opposed to the idea of non-dual self, but the approach towards the non-duality was through duality.
Yeah, you're right.
So in Savikalpa Samadhi, you need duality. You need Murti to focus on external object to justify your mental thinking. Otherwise, you won't be able to relate to the thinking power that this is what I am meditating upon. And it could be a Murti or it could be Jagat, could be anywhere. Is that right?
You don't necessarily need a murti, but you could have a murti. But see, if you have a murti, then murti becomes bahya.
Yeah, that's true.
It becomes yasmin kasmin shavastani. If it is internal, it has to do with jiva, me. So if you take murti as a recourse, you are still focused on the absolute nature, and you're separating the nama rupa. Okay, so we will have little more time next week, because there are only 2 shlokas left. So if there are still more questions, we'll go through that, and next week will be also our last week, and we'll conclude our text. Let's do the prayer, and then we will continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhirenji.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om,
Thank
Dhiren.
you. Thank you, Dhirenji.
Thank you.